Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform, the program that runs simultaneously on RAPA Radio and Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Amici Anapwe. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is reprinting ballot papers and result sheets for Saturday's governorship election in Osun State. Why are they doing so? This is because a court ordered that the name of the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Dr. Francis Ajalan, that of his running mate, Fasheko Oladipo, be put on the ballot and be included in the election. They were excluded following legal dispute over their candidacy. INEC says the reprinted election materials will get to Osun State on Thursday, that's today, for onward distribution to all the local government areas of Osun State. This no doubt adds to the controversy trailing the election. It appears the election is getting one controversy or the other. Recall on Wednesday, Senator Francis Fada-Hunsi honored the invitation of the police after he threatened that Accord Party supporters be killed on election day. He had since clarified that he meant that they be killed with votes. And some political platform today, we shall focus on Osun State in the run-up to the governorship election. All the attention of the entire country is on Osun State. A lot happening security-wise. Even the international community, Davido, music star, drawing the attention of the U.S. President Donald Trump to the situation in Osun State, saying, please, look up to the situation there and monitor closely. So it's not just only national attention on Osun State, but international attention. He's also claiming that since he issued that tweet, he has gotten representations from several countries as to the contest. We'll be joined by Timothy Bamidele, who's already in Osun State. He's the Program Manager, Center for Media and Society, one of the many election observer groups that are active in Osun State. But before then, my colleagues, as usual, are with me, Uju Ejeye and Mustafa Mohammed. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and we welcome our viewers and listeners.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers. Good to have you again today.
Okay, let's start with the fact that Senator Francis Fada-Hunsi honored the invitation of the police after he issued those death threats. Death threats, he said, were not related to humans. He got to the state command headquarters of Osun State and had a session with the police officers. Many citizens expected an arrest, just as Accord Party members were arrested severally. Some houses of Accord Party supporters were even raided. But when he got to Fada-Hunsi, he was just invited. That invitation was honored. Is it enough to calm the nerves? Is it enough to guarantee peace and security ahead of that election?
Well, I think that it's a good thing first that at least the police took note of what he did and invited him. But that is just an invitation. I do not think it's enough. Maybe even if it is 1 or 2 days detention would have gone a long way in sending some serious message to people who may want to incite whether party members or the public during the election, and people who think that violence is the only way to wrest power in Nigeria. I do not think that that is enough to deter others who may want to do it. And again, you look at the two parties, the two major parties you talk about, the Accord Party and the APC. He was invited. The others were arrested and not even detained in Osun State. They were brought all the way to Abuja to be detained. Only God knows what is happening, but like I would say, let the police be very, very fair. Let the security agencies be very, very fair in whatever they do during this election, so we don't send the wrong signals and messages to the world.
I would like to commend the Inspector General of Police, Disu, for making sure that the police acts appropriately. The invitation was very good. The interrogation was okay. And then the police spokesperson told journalists yesterday that the investigation is ongoing. Detaining for 2-3 days is not the matter. The police must do its work. And, after the debate here yesterday on the matter, I received a phone call from a retired history professor in one of the federal universities in the southeast, where the professor drew my attention to lack of social justice is what is judicial and social justice. He called my attention to what led to the Nigerian Civil War. Those who carry out the first coup, killing Sardauna, Tafawa Balewa, Akintola, Williams, and others, were not punished by the system. That actually led to the a reprisal killing in Kano train station, Ojukwu trying to protest the southeast. That led to civil war that almost broke the country into two. Then followed by some of the recent incidents we mentioned, Dan Suleiman, the pastor, Yahaya Jingir, and then this one. If Nigeria will provide justice in every case, then the issue of this threat cannot be taken lightly by people who might try to call for such threats in the future, or for politicians who will organize their political talks and start killing people, snatching ballot box, and what have you. I think it's not just the judiciary. Government needs to be proactive. It doesn't matter whether those making the threats belong to the ruling party at the federal level or at the state level. I was at the Kano airport some months ago, or was it last year when we landed. We saw a lot of endeavor at the Kano airport trying to welcome a prominent politician. They had all the machetes and sticks, and there are more than 500 between the airport and outside the airport. And I was asking myself, is this not a federal institution with airport security, Nigerian police, the Air Force? I think anybody who makes a threat in the name of political party, election, or religious intolerance, the system should arrest and hammer him very well.
The system. But we have seen the system go soft on members of the ruling party, and this not just at the federal level, we also see it at the state level. And that's the point Mustafa is stressing. There are party members, party officials, they know if they commit crime during the election, they can bet you that the security agencies will not do anything. And it speaks volumes about the loyalty of our security agencies, whether it's to the government in power, party in power, or to the state. I believe we have a lot of work to do. Perhaps it starts from their mode of appointment. When you appoint someone not based on merit, when you appoint someone based on certain sentiments, the person will push loyalty to you. He will owe that office to that your connection. And so unconsciously, the person plays to your gallery. But when it's based on performance, when it's based on merit, the person will see himself as a product of hard work. That's the position the person occupies. And look at the entire nation. Look at the Nigerian state. The Nigerian state comprises of both the government and the people and every other interest group. We must have to evolve a society that enthrones a merit, that will ensure that when people are appointed, they see the whole nation as their constituency and not beholden to the interest.
That's why some persons have suggested that such key appointments, like in the judiciary, maybe the police, be done by the commission, instead of the president, because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. There's no way a man will appoint me and then I will not have a certain measure of loyalty to him, no matter how patriotic I am to my country.
You're talking about whether we should have a strong institution. If you look at the various government agencies, you can quickly, in terms of performance, point at a few, with all the ministries and parastatals we have, like the NDLEA, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency under General Marwa. You know that you don't have to mince word when we are talking about whether they are working or not. And then in the past 6 months, 1 year, you can score the Nigerian army high in terms of what they are doing in the insecurity, whether in the northwest or in the south. Then you're talking about maybe the Bureau of Public Procurement stopping procurement fraud under Dr. Adewale. You can count like 5, 10, but all government institutions must not just be working, but must seem to be working. Every wrong thing that will happen, people, if it's federal government, people will start blaming the president. But the president has appointed people, like the ministers have been screened and appointed from through the National Assembly. But are they doing their work or not? Of course, we have seen the replacement of ministers like the finance ministers, but so many DGs and ministers who are not performing should be removed by the president.
So if the president fails to remove, he gets the condemnation, because the Constitution tells us that executive powers are vested on the president. So when you delegate, you don't delegate responsibility. That's why those that are appointed must select the best. If those you are appointed fail, it means you have failed and failed woefully.
It's actually a very serious thing that Dr. Amechi. Those who are not performing should be removed. And it's only in Nigeria that you see public officials who have failed, they don't throw in the towel, no matter what.
And the appointive power tolerates them.
Exactly. But you see, the Nigerian police also did very well. We were actually expecting that the police should either arrest or invite. But we are still waiting to see if the Nigerian police will invite Sheikh Jingir or arrest him, because the condemnation is all over.
And we've not had anything since. Well, I think we should get back to Osun election and take a deeper look at what is happening there. At least we thank God that yesterday there was no pronounced case of violence, apart from what Bukola told us in the morning about the 3 persons that died after the inciting statement from the senator. And we hope that party members would comport themselves accordingly. And, I was thinking this morning about what he said about Osun housing, cult groups. Court groups and who have been bought over by the politicians, and with some supporting the different candidates. And I thought about it, and I said, okay, even court groups have their boundaries. If you don't hit, is it not hit they call it? The other one will not hit you. So if they will maintain their lanes, and respect decorum, then we will surely have peaceful election. And the police has also gone an extra mile in training, or shall I say retraining its officers to handle this election because of the peculiar violent circumstances that have arisen. And I think that's a good step. But whatever happens, free and fair is the word. Nigeria Police, DSS, NSCDC, free and fair. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. The rule of law must prevail. No partiality, no parochialism, whatever word you want to use to describe it. Treat A like B, treat B like A.
We are training the rank and file and lower level officers, because training is to impact skills and competencies. We must also, and that the essence of that training, which we commend, is to ensure that they understand what election duty is all about.
Yes.
When they find themselves on the field on election day, they should know the practical steps to take in keeping peace, ensuring equity, and maintaining law and order. Beyond that, we should also develop the leadership, the management of the police. Yes, train the lower rank and develop the management. What do I mean by development? Let them understand that loyalty is not to the government of the day, but to the state. Let's go for this break and share a training program the police did for his officers in Osun State on Wednesday. Okay, we'll make that available, but we'll still go for a break. Remember, we have a guest that will join us, one of the election observers already in Osun State on ground. We hope to share with you the training program the police had in Osun State on Wednesday, and also bring in our guest for today. Do stay with us.
The stories now break online. Miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Raypower Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's link up with Oshobo in Osun State, where our guest for today, Timothy Bamidele, Program Manager, Center for Media and Society, will join us virtually for perspectives for the upcoming election. Thank you so much, Timothy, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning.
So earlier on the program, we were hoping that all the controversies that have trailed preparations for this election have ended. We hope no new ones will be coming up. We saw police personnel being trained. We saw show of force by security personnel across the major streets of Oshobo and all that. Are there enough to really pour cold water on the frayed nerves, as it were?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like you mentioned, that we hope, and I can also say we pray, that the storms will settle in Osun State ahead less than how many hours to the election. Well, I have to say that, presently the situation room has been set up by our own organization. I work with Center for Media and Society, and then we are part of the civil society in the space of the European Union support democratic governance in Nigeria. prior to the time we find ourselves in Osun State, the program.
We seem to have lost Timothy Bamidele there, just settling down to the business of the day. And we have him back now.
Interventions, training order, including with several we have intervention for voters' opinion lab. We've trained journalists. We've looked at the issue of fake news, misinformation. We've engaged. We've had town hall meeting, which was streamlined. So, in terms of engagement with the citizenry, at ensuring that the integrity of this election is, come to power, we have seen this space, and also our organizations at the program level. Where we have several.
No, you mentioned integrity. Timothy, you talked about integrity of the election. How will you rate that so far?
From what we have seen in terms of processes that evolved to this day, there have been a lot of shortcomings, there have been a lot of compromises, and there have been what I would refer to as attack against the simple definition of democracy. Because the basic, all of us we have learned, is that democracy is about the people, part of the people, for the people. So there is contention over that definition. And that's why those of us at the civic space, civil society, feel like that sanctity of definition of democracy must be protected. So in terms of integrity, process, we actually monitor process, and we want to see the credibility of the process itself. So far so good. From our own baseline studies, from our assessment report, having looked at the management body, political parties, that integrity process-wise has been questioned, has been undermined. We are seeing characters that are not consistent with democratic values.
Can you be more
of the key players?
Yes, be more specific,
we have seen
please.
Attitude. So in terms of
can you be specific?
Process,
all those elements we are mentioning.
We have seen is.
Can you be specific? These elements you are mentioning, can you be specific? Can you give us incidents?
Well, let me just refer to our findings. From what we have seen, we were in Ekiti, and in contrast to Ekiti State obstacle election, we see that the Osun State political environment, is more competitive, is more polarized and volatile. We have seen the key actors, the leading political parties. So we have seen the energy they invested into the space. And then this, it's an high-stake election because Osun State is a power center of political party, right? We have seen the undertone to this election. If you look at for instance, the grassroots or the local government was under contention of control. So these are activities that led to this election. So the intersection of intense political competition, institutional dispute, and elevated public expectation. So were factors that make the political actor. So we have seen multiple threats. But from what we did in our assessment, all these areas were assessed, including the media. Or should say, for instance, as robust media space, there are about 35 radio stations, 3 television, 11 online, and then about 19 presence of print media. So we have also seen their vulnerability, right? And then from what we have seen in terms of our own assessment, 13 local governments have shown high level of vulnerability in terms of threat. You are mentioning Osogbo, of course, Boripe, Obokun, Ife, even part of Ijishana are from what we have seen. So what I'm talking about are what is in public domain that we have done extensive baseline, and this report we have presented to the public.
All right. Are you saying that the media is also taking sides in Osun State?
Come again, ma'am.
Are you saying that the media is also taking sides in Osun election in the process?
No. Our interest, or what we have seen with the media, we have seen very vibrant society, and we have seen their own vulnerability too, because they seem to stand in between these key players. They are trying to do their best, and we can assess them by the quality of reports they are generating day in, day out. So if you submit their report into matrix and analysis, probably they can be isolated if they are biased or not. But from our engagement, we have seen a vibrant set of people, and we have trained them on what we think is going to impact negatively on this election in terms of misinformation, fake news. We built army of fast checkers. We are on ground to fast check real time and to amplify to mainstream media and online media in Osun State. Our situation room that has been set up is meant to be able to monitor and also to escalate and amplify as it were. So in terms of partiality of media, we have our own media reports, and we also have the media risk as into possibility of influence by the owners. So ownership factor is playing out.
Okay.
But it has not really undermined the versatility of journalists in Osun State.
Timothy, INEC is reprinting ballot papers for the governorship election because of a court order. The SDP candidate and the running mate that were excluded before are now going to be part of the polls. INEC told us that they expect the reprinted ballots to get to Osun State Thursday, that's today. How would this affect the issue of logistic management? Ballot papers have been deployed before, distributed, but fresh ones are coming today. Would they get to the point at the appropriate time on election day?
That's a big flash. That's a big red flag, which all the stakeholders within the civic space we must look at. For your information, there are about 2.3 million, registered voters in Osun State. And so if we are going to have this emergency at the twilight of an election, I mean, we need to be on the lookout. So are there going to be efficient logistics? There are about 17,500 personnel that will be working for INEC, deployed. So how will this take place? Will it arrive today? So all eyes are on INEC again. And this talks about our process. And I think we should have a point either in our law or with judiciary that we have to put stop to this. It's very technical. It's very tricky. It's very sensitive.
Let me ask this.
What INEC say they want to do. Let's also, trust and then follow very keenly, because for us, the civic space is a red flag.
Let me ask this question. In light of the threat made by Senator Fadausi, for which the police invited him, are there extra measures the security agents will take in that area where he made that threat? Do you foresee any uprising or any conflict as a result of that call he made, which he is denying now?
Well, let me say that in the course of our engagement, we have engaged and we are engaging I'm talking about our program-wide at the level of Center for Media and Society and the program-wide of AUSDGM. As I speak, engagement is going on with police in Osun State as I speak, at the level of the program, in terms of getting their assurances, especially about these 13 flashpoints that our assessment had identified, including the Ijesha land. So, and I said as I speak again, engagement in terms of having them engage with journalists. We are doing this to be able to press home one fundamental thing. We need their assurances. We need their trust. We want to see that our institution, because what makes difference in all spheres, in all democracy, is just the institutions.
All right, if we may go back.
The law, and it's just that disregard the law, then there will be a state of chaos and anarchy.
All right,
so
if we may go back to what you said earlier about the appeal court judgment, that has necessitated the reprinting of ballot papers. It also happened in Ondo State when the two sons, Akero Dilu and Jegede, were contesting, and the judgment was delivered, I think, 2 or 3 days to the election. And, so do you think that there are ways that this can be tackled so that maybe the courts would need to deliver the judgment, given enough time, for this kind of logistics issues to be effectively sorted?
Thank you very much. What we make is for electoral reform. We work in the civic space, advocacy for reforms of our electoral law. These are things that we try to see ahead. Because it's a game of foresight. We should be able to sit down as a people and do what I refer to as devil advocacy. What are the things that is going to derail our system? What are the possible things? And then we do this, like a kind of baseline. You take the judiciary, you take the media, and then we do devil advocacy. That if this happens, it's going to have this implication. So don't we know as a people that this will have implication? And so there must have been a rail guard, a safeguard in our system. So when we continue to make it for improvement of our law, improvement of, and you see, we put a lot of energy to provide support for electoral management body. Our organizations, by reason of components, we have components that work with electoral management body within the EU-wide program to strengthen them, also the judiciary and legislature. So I believe that we still need to improve on the quality of our reforms such that we can have a baseline in terms of timeline that will not be ambushing the system. Technically, this looks like an ambush, but because the space is open, and I don't want to use the word, let me avoid that, but let me say this, that though everyone will have right to appeal. So somebody will say, I'm trying to press on my right. Of course, that's what democracy is all about. But shouldn't you have boundary? Shouldn't we set timeline? Shouldn't there be limitation? If these are not in place, if there are no safeguards, there will be a free fall. Because if logistics will impact negatively, will be affected, that means the labor of a year in preparing for this election, very sensitive material, but let's not just be negative, let's not be preemptive, let's not be pessimistic.
Okay.
But then there must be a safeguard.
Do you think these materials, if they arrive today, based on INEC's calculation, that they can get to the local government areas before Saturday at least? We know such materials are already, the old materials are already at the local council areas and registration area councils, as it were. Now they will be retrieved, and this new one, INEC is hoping will get into Oshobo today. Can it be distributed in good time tomorrow so that by evening of Friday, they're already at the registration area centers?
Well, as much as I don't want to speak for INEC, but what we can do is to actually watch the process. Oyo State landscape is a bit wide, and further places like Okela, Irepodu, for instance, from Oshobo, the state capital, or probably say 3 hours maybe or less. So if they have set their machinery in motion, I don't think there should be an excuse that these materials will not get to those places. So they are giving us timeline today, and I'm telling you, all eyes on institutions in Oyo State, on INEC, on the place, on paramilitaries.
And we hope the logistics,
because
we hope the logistic problem will succeed, but will be envisaged and circumvented. But let's get back to the roots of this problem. The exclusion of SDP candidate from the ballot was based on contestation over the actual leadership, national leadership of SDP. Which one conducted the primary that will produce the candidate? It's not only SDP that is having a problem with his national leadership. Matters taken to court, up to Supreme Court and all that. Now, SDP's leadership case got to the Supreme Court, got back to the High Court, and the latest judgment was from the Court of Appeal saying the Sadiq led leadership is authentic, forcing INEC now to include the candidate he chose for the election. Now, in the run-up to the governor and many elections in 2027, we may also run into this trap where few days or few weeks to the election, the court is saying this is the authentic candidate, this is not the authentic candidate, to present, no doubt, a lot of problems.
That takes us back to the question of electoral reform. Regard. You see, look, Nigeria are well read. We are civilized. Those of us in project management, you can simulate all of this. You can do your risk analysis, you can do your risk assessment, and you can triangulate and plug it into what happens in judiciary and political parties. In political parties, the character of Nigerian political elite is aggression. So and this can only be tamed by law, the law of the land, and what they put in their own, such that if there are conflicts, it has to be time-bound resolved, because we are going to move into another process. A timeline tells you that political parties' primaries must happen, and everything must be consummated. So if we are working with the timeline, and we are morally banned and legally banned by those timelines, we can move to the next phase. We can move to the next activities. But in a situation whereby an activity is to have been presumed to have been foreclosed, to have been concluded in an ideal setting, so why can't we push for an ideal system? We kept talking of American democracy. We kept talking of developed democracy. What was the problem with us to just copy and paste good aspects of this, and we still want to have our way, disrupt the system, because we have created lacuna for this to happen in the reforms we are building? Why do you want to give room for opacity? Why do you want to allow politicians to continue to be rascally? See, we have elected for democracy, and democracy is for the people. It's by the people and for the people. So where is the people? What people are saying, let us have a process and a system that is sane enough, so that our clan can be referred to as a sane clan. It is workability of this institution and this process that will change everything. And I begin to reflect, when you have individuals that are above the law, then that is anarchy. When you have institutions that disregard the law, that is also anarchy. And that's why I said, let's go back to the baseline. We have to continue to interrogate our process, interrogate the electoral reform process, and pick all of these holes that we need to plug it. So let's assume that the court delivered judgment today. So what's further from delivering judgment today? So what happened? INEC will disregard the court judgment and go ahead, and the whole system will be invalidated. So I think those of us in the media, in the civil space, to reinforce our energy to see that when we continue to make advocacy for renewals of our law, those are areas we identify: transmission of results, judgment. So the moment the timeline is over, and this should not be done with bias or with ambush, it should be clear to all the key players. This is the rule of the game that has to be abided with.
All right.
So if we are not ready to abide by the rule of the game, okay, we do know that it is the rule of the game that guides, because democracy is still about rule of law.
All right, and democracy certainly is for the people, by the people, for the people. And now we've been talking about other aspects of this election. Can we look at the people of Osun State? You said you've interacted even with the people. What are your findings? What's their mood like? Are they still excited about this election? Are they being cowed by the violence that they have seen? What are the Osun people like at this point in time?
Thank you very much. Our organization, Center for Media and Society, International Press Center, Kuka Center, at the program-wide level, virtually National Women Trust Fund, IAGA, South Africa, we had engagement at different layers, grassroots level, statewide level, with Osun State citizenry and residents. And I can tell you this, that Osun State, based on our engagement, we have voter opinion lab, where we bring people from different strata of the society, the artisan, market women, retirees. We have 2 sessions before we have the big town hall meeting. Let me tell you what resonates. Osun State residents have said to us that they won't be voter party. They said they are coming out to vote. And we asked question, why will you want to come and vote? And they said to us that this coming election is pregnant. We said, what? Twins? They said it has even 100 children inside their stomach. If I can use that vernacular expression.
Triplets or twins?
So if citizens are talking to you in that way, that you are coming to vote, you will do opinion lab with the just parallelism of thought. 1 or 2, we have a town hall meeting, and they say, yes, we will vote. So the fact that Osun people have said they will come out, because one of the index we are trying to look at would have a voter party, but from what we have had, there may not be, because they have said there won't be. So we will be able to validate that if other factors You mentioned maybe threats and all of that. These are played out, and people have the right to also protect their own lives. But from our layers of engagement at the grassroots level, at the voter opinion now, and let me tell you this: they said to us their fears. We asked them, are you listening to manifestos? Can you tell us? And they say they picked this item of manifesto. And then our organization worked together, Luka Center worked together, and we instituted a radio program where we invited all political parties to come and talk to the people on their manifestos. That's to tell you the extent at which the program is ready and willing to give the power to the people to take informed decisions.
So the people...
that if they said they are not busy, then we created a platform, 1 hour, for all the political parties in Osun State, go on air. We selected a broadcast organization, go and tell the people your manifesto alone. No attack, no abuse, tell them what you have in stock. So far, so good. That's how we have.
So the people are more enlightened now. Mm-hmm. The people are more enlightened now, right? And at least about the different parties and their manifestos, and they can make better choices.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
That's interesting.
I can tell you that.
Okay, good to know that there's high level of political consciousness on the part of the voters in Osun State. Let's hope that we'll hit above the 50% mark in voter turnout, because in governorship elections across Nigeria, especially off-season, sometimes you get 20%, 18% voter turnout. Let's hope Osun State will be different. We have to thank you so much, Timothy Bamidele, Program Manager, Center for Media and Society, for giving us your time today. In the course of our coverage of the Osun State governorship election this Saturday, we may have a recourse to you for your evaluation of the process as it gets set.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll be willing to do that. We have set a studio in the election hub where we will have a lot of our experts that are willing to feed Nigerians on the processes. And I must say to you that the program has over 800 monitors that will be working in all the local governments. Wow. So in terms of getting content, you are sure you have your people that you can revert to us at the election hub where we have studios set up, and then we believe working together we will raise the bar and democracy will answer for Nigeria.
That would
Thank
be
you
quite
very
nice.
much.
Thank you so much for joining us once again. Okay, now the point he raised which caught my attention was, what if the court judgment had come today? Because in the past, elections where candidates were excluded led to outright cancellation of that election by the courts. We have seen it in the past. So it was good, this latest court judgment ordering INEC to include the names of the governorship and deputy governorship candidates of the SDP in this election came in good time, giving INEC the room to reprint quickly and deploy to Osun State.
If you say good time, I don't know about good time, but I know that it came in time, at least for INEC to be able to do this. But believe me, I think that INEC might be working with a lot of constraint right now, because it's really not easy, especially getting the sensitive materials and other things to the nook and cranny of Osun State. But I think that maybe in a way, during the reforms, as we look at electoral reforms, we might need to carry the judiciary along, so that maybe they need to dialogue with the judiciary on this kind of judgments, so that they can come at least give 4 or 5 days interval before the elections. This 2 days thing, I really don't know, but I know that certainly there will be some constraints. But anyway, we thank God that it came before, in time, at least, giving over 48 hours for INEC to be able to do something, but it could be better.
Okay, and so there are many other cases involving leadership of political parties in court. For that of SDP, it got to the Supreme Court, it went back to the High Court, got to the Appeal Court, and who knows, may end up at the Supreme Court again. And not just the SDP, the same thing with PDP and many other parties. We have seen cases get to the Supreme Court. When it gets there, the judgments do not provide clarity. Rather, it even obscures the situation the more, forcing litigants to go back to the High Court. Let's see clarification on the judgment of the Supreme Court. It doesn't augur well for both the judiciary and our electoral system. Time for us to bring you into the program now, where we read some of the mails you sent to our email platform. Emmanuel Ede from Madala is the first one, and he says, may I use this medium to ask the police to properly investigate and prosecute the senator representing Osun East Senatorial Zone, Mr. Francis Farahunsi, who allegedly said to have asked APC members to kill Accord party members coming out to vote for their candidate in the forthcoming governorship elections on 15th of August 2026. If the federal government and the security operatives fail to strongly handle this situation, then this threat will continue even in the general election come 2027. And that will be very destructive for our nascent democracy. He ends. The next one is from Patrick Linus from Abuja, and he says, after widespread public condemnation, the police finally invited Senator Francis Farahunsi, the Osun State Senator, who ordered his supporters and members of his party, APC, to kill Accord party supporters in the build-up to the state's gubernatorial election. It is an open secret. This invitation is just a small screen by the police to give the impression they are doing something. We all know he can't be prosecuted because he belongs to the ruling party, hence above the law, and is completely untouchable. Prior to this reckless statement and hate speech, President Tinubu told his guest, the Catholic bishop who visited him a fortnight ago, that all is fair in politics. These remarks certainly embolden his supporters to believe that they can do anything and get away with it since they have the backing of the president.
Body language. All right. Angusiong Ugochukwu from Lagos sent in our next mail, and it says the huge resources and manpower we put into our elections is not proportional to the outcome and performance of the presumed winner. INEC has been made to reproduce a fresh result sheet and ballot papers to accommodate the SDP candidate because of a court declaration just a few days to the election. We can't sustain this system of government. The APC and Accord are at loggerheads, not because they love Osun and want to make life better, but because of power and resources of the state. The APC did not say Governor Adeleke is not working, but that he is spending resources on his hometown alone. We should devise a system where voters can use their BVN or NIN and vote. This INEC BVAS is not foolproof. It can fail, and politicians are smart. About 6,000 BVAS machines will be used in Osun. Let the voice of the people be the choice that will emerge. And Imala Kama from Alimosho, Lagos says, please, I crave your indulgence to observe that the infidel statement of Sheikh Jingir of Kano State, ostensibly referring to Christians, is very unfortunate and incisive. This is because statement like this is capable of causing religious upheaval. More importantly, let's remember the Rwandan genocide. The Rwandan experience, the consequences of it, which was chiefly caused by ethnic hate speech. Here is reminding Nigerians that Nigeria is a secular state, and therefore we should stop any act that is capable of stirring up religious crisis. On the other hand, Sheikh Jingir needs to be cautioned by Muslim leaders to refrain from further acts capable of causing breach of the peace. And I think that Muslim leaders have been actually doing that. We had one with us here, Sheikh Khalid,
yes,
and Sheikh Nuhu Khalid,
okay,
and he was very, very clear that that is un-Islamic and it is not
Sultan
right.
of Sokoto has also issued a statement, His Eminence Sultan Saad Abubakar, condemning, saying that nobody should think his religion is better than the other, that people should live in peace. And let me also quickly make this correction. Jingir is from Plateau State, not from Kano. He was invited for the mass wedding when he ran his mouth.
So much for that clarification. Jingiri himself is unrelenting. He's unapologetic, saying he didn't start it and says that's his personal opinion.
The Holy Book says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. He said what he meant. And
for today, we'll come back tomorrow with another edition. On behalf of my colleagues, my name is Amici, and I hope you enjoy your day.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Is rare.
Because of the high rate of fuel, the cost of commodities, cost of everything in this country is high.
Nigerians cannot be made to suffer every time.
So, where do you turn for clarity? The right questions.
What are some of the inhibitions that are not...
That includes 42-year-old Singazi Sibandam, a mother of 3 children.
All my crops were burned by the sun. I don't know how we will get to next year and where we will be. The crops died at early stages.
Mangwe is one of the districts in Zimbabwe most affected by drought, due to recurring droughts caused by the El Nino weather pattern.
The crop situation in Zimbabwe is very poor at the moment, and we expect that the number of people who will not have adequate stock from their own production to last them until the next harvest, which would be then by the middle of next year, that number of people who will not be able to meet their food needs over that full period will go up.
Zimbabwe's government says the 2024 grain harvest will